I just gotta have a picture with my buddy here, the Cub Scout. He sort of looks like Beaver Cleaver with reddish hair.
Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go!
Good morning, everybody. It's George the Antique Nomad, and I have finally made my way into the Springfield Antique Show. This is Thursday, and on Thursday you get here early. I have to say, I've never seen quite such a disorganized situation, but they did get me my pass, and a lot of dealers come here. There should be about 1,000 this weekend, and so it's a long-standing show that does well. Springfield is to the slightly northeast of Cincinnati. It is one of the biggest antique centers in the country. There's two giant antique malls, including the largest one in the country right near here. Today we're waiting to get in. You come in and then you sit in line, and then you can take stuff out of your car and sell it, and then at 4 o'clock you have to throw it all back in, and then you go to your spot. But you can also shop the line, and that's what I'm going to do first before I take anything out of my car. So let's go shop the lines. So here are the lines. There's probably several hundred of us waiting to get into our actual space. And so what you do is you take stuff out of the car and you sell what you can get out of the car, and people walk around, people paid to come in early. And so we're going to see what people have out now while we wait for the event to actually happen. I'm going to let this gal go by with her big trailer because she's bigger than I am. So the fella next to me in line, who was equally confused by the process as I was, he's got some really cool signage out already. Old 1950s grocery store stuff, and I always like these Masonic and fireman banners. These were popular in the 1950s. How much are your banners? Sorry, what?
100 a piece.
100 a piece? They're cool.
Yeah. Masons and fire.
Yeah, I like them both. The thing is that obviously a lot of folks have not even gotten started past this, so I don't know whether you're going to find bargains early or if things are going to be more expensive because you're getting first pick, but we're just going to take a look and see what's here. Here's something really cool. Look at the Iroquois bottle topper. That is not like anything that I've seen before. And then we've got Orange Crush. Orange Crush is always popular because it was a good graphic. Whoops, somebody just took a dive. I swear that wasn't me, Mom. LB Lubes, well, we'll just save that. And there's a couple of licensed toppers. I like the one for the Elks. Mammoth Peanuts, that's a good tin. I'll have to come back and talk to this person because I don't see them to ask the prices, but that's some neat stuff there. I'm always talking up lucite. These tables are $2.95 for the pair. These are pretty early. I would say these are maybe 1950s when lucite starts being used in furniture because of the style. The cantilevering and the sort of deco or art moderne design makes me think that these are earlier. And probably not signed. The early pieces typically were not signed. Signatures came later. Now early on we're going to see a lot of advertising out because it's easier to get these big pieces out first. And of course we have to pack up and then unpack again. However, this mandolin is really neat. It's priced at $125, and that could be a good deal depending who made it, so I'm going to take a closer look. Mandolins were very popular in 1920s music, and you see that they tended to have very nice parquetry. You see bird's eye maple alternating with mahogany. Now there's one little crack there. That can really affect the sound. So that's going to be important, and there's some warpage here. So that may be why it's priced the way it is. Even though it is a very attractive piece, the neck is not broken. That's important to look for on old string instruments because that can warp the strings in a way that makes it impossible to get a good sound. So this one's probably restorable. I think the price is about right. I do not see a maker name, but it's a very pretty piece. and we will put it back in its case for the next person. Here's two nice 1930s mesh purses with the painting, and these have good design. I don't see any scraping on this one so far. That's very important. If any of the color is missing, it really devalues them. Sometimes in the frame you'll see a maker name. The silk lining inside seems to be in good shape. That's also important. And then you want to look at the corners to make sure that there's not a lot of separation or holes where the hinge is. So all in all, that one seems to be in good shape. This one's nicer in that it's got the little tassels at the end. This one does have a mark. The mark on this is, I saw it a moment ago, it's right there. It's hard to see, but that is Mandalian. They, along with Whiting and Davis, were two of the bigger ones. Slight loss of coloration at one corner, but it looks pretty good overall. And I'm going to ask what the prices are.
Well, I'm excited. He gave me a nice price on the two mesh purses. I got them for under $100, and I usually can get, oh, maybe 95 on the one with the, I've got people waving at me. It's funny, since I've done the channel, I'm actually recognizable in a way that I'm not used to being, so it's been a lot of fun, but I also get distracted a lot. In the meantime, I got the mesh purses for a little under $100 for the pair because they have nice geometric deco designs, and the paint and the hinges and everything was in good shape. And I have been out of those for a while, so that's going to really help make my case look better, and that's exciting. These folks have a whole lot of furniture, and you can see this really handsome oak sideboard. Now it's stained a little darker. There was golden oak, but a lot of people stained oak darker around 1900, 1910, and a lot of people restore it lighter. So this is the original finish on this particular piece. You can see the stippling inside the carving, and the lion's head is very handsome. That's a neat looking piece. Is it wrong that this made me laugh out loud? I tend to buy things if they make me laugh, so I think I'm going to have to ask about this. They seem to have several pieces of various ephemera, and so I'll see if I can make a little pile here. And here's a trade card. I have a friend shopping here and selling here, my friend Dave. I did a big video on his antique advertising. That's his specialty, but he really likes trade cards. And this one appears to be actually more of a folio, but he might like this, so I'm going to take a look at that too. I like concrete. I always seem to like big, heavy things, but these are pretty good, and the lions are a classic. And then they've got this neat twig table. This looks like an old one. They did a lot of these in the last 30 or 40 years again, but when you see this detail on the bottom, I usually associate that with being older, because that was someone who had lots of time to spend. They weren't making it to sell it, they were making it because it was something they could do. A lot of these were made in the 1930s when people had more time than money. And then this is unusual. This is a 42-inch wall telephone from 1894, an old crank telephone. They have it priced at $695. The size is what's unusual. I believe that that houses a big magneto, and that's the reason. This would have been very early on when they needed more juice to run these. I really like the old no trespassing sign, and I don't know what they want for that, but I also see this little bench with the iron legs, and they want $45 for that. It needs to be reupholstered, but that's a pretty good price. I usually can get about $95 for a bench like that, and it doesn't take a lot of fabric. You get a good vintage piece of fabric and can redo that, so I may pick that up. They also have a very unusual piece of enamelware. The form is not unusual, and unfortunately it does have some damage, but the coloration is really unusual. A lot of these swirl patterns were kind of what they had at the end of the day, and they would just use them and use up the stuff. A lot of times these just went home with workers. They said, yeah, you can pay us for the blank and just put whatever colors are left, and that makes them very scarce, so it's called end of day.
You'll see glass that's swirled with a lot of colors also referred to as end of day, because again, it was something they just let the workers use so that they could clear out the kiln at night. That means that they're fairly unique. This one's priced at $85, and it is because it's an unusual color combination. Even though the form itself is not interesting, the colors are great. I really like World's Fair stuff, and these cafe plates are from the Ford Rotunda. This was the Ford Motor Company display at the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. This was done by Shenango in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. It's got the old Indian logo and rim roll. See the way the rim is rolled so it won't chip? They had a patent on that, and so they marked it that way as well. And then over here we have the bowl. That's a little harder to find. Priced at $75. Those prices seem to be about right for what I've seen. It is because of the World's Fair and because car enthusiasts like it. Robin Hood starring Richard Green, so this would have been a premium. I'm not sure when that came out, but I imagine it's 1950s just looking at the design. I'd be curious the price on that too. I hope this dealer comes back soon. A lot of dealers put their stuff out and then they go shopping and get distracted. Speaking of Ford, well, this old clock is an early Ford service garage clock, and I would say this is 1930s or possibly 40s because of the red, white, and blue. Priced at $900, but that's got to be really hard to find, and those electric ad clocks are what's really popular right now. And then here's a giant pair of scissors from a scissor sharpening service. Somebody made this for their business. It's priced at $850. So again, you know, this stuff isn't necessarily cheap, but it is very cool. And then here's something I always liked in Victorian furniture. This is called stick and ball, for obvious reasons. It's like fretwork. And stick and ball furniture seems to have retained its popularity, even though Victorian isn't as collected as it used to be. This is priced at $295. These little wall racks typically go for $200 to $300. These signs are kind of neat. They're pretty beaten up, but it's Municipal Railway, Manhattan and Queens, South Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, and Coney Island. They're priced at $1,500 for the pair because they'd be pretty scarce. Obviously, they got eaten up and damaged probably through vandalism. New York went through some rough times, but it has somehow stood the test of time, and here they are. I've never seen these before. I just gotta have a picture with my buddy here, the Cub Scout. Let's turn around so you can see all of him. He sort of looks like Beaver Cleaver with reddish hair. This is out of the 1950s. Full standing display. I just got the pin back that says "Nothing Does It Like 7-Up" and wondered what era it was from, and you can tell by the Art Deco, Art Moderne style of the lettering here, and also the prices, ham and eggs for 25 cents, that it's 1950s. So mystery solved. The signboard here I believe is priced at about $200. Wood painted items don't generally do quite as well as metal enameled in terms of pricing, but it's got the look and I think it's cool. Again, we're going to mostly see big stuff out because everyone has to put all this stuff back and pack it into their car, but here we have a Red Wing number 5 jug. The number 5 is fairly large. It'd be hard to pick up with a bunch of hooch in it, and it's priced at $100. That's the going rate for these now, especially when it's got the 3 stamps on it, the Red Wing Union stoneware, the wing itself, and the number. These are going to date to about 1920. Here's another little bench, and this one's really neat. This one is done, it says 1919, it's a treasure chest, it's got a pirate on it. It's pretty aged, it was not taken care of well, but around the edges are all of these coins. Some of them are quite old. This one's Upper Canada Bank of 1854. Italian coins of the 1800s. These would have been mildly collectible in 1919, but not considered any big deal. They were 50 or 60-year-old foreign coins, and who cares? But now, that's a pretty amazing thing. Some of those coins are going to have some value in and of themselves. And the table overall, it's funny, there was a modernist company by a father and son called Laverne out of Chicago that did bronze tables like this in the 1960s, and those are worth a small fortune. Now here's a good dog. This little boxer, priced at $90, not a bad price. I believe this one is a Hubley, if I'm not mistaken. And he is original. You can see that the paint is chippy, but it is still got paint. We can tell he's an original because the seams are tight. There's not obvious filing marks on the top edge where you can see them. Those were quality marks back then, and later reproductions are not careful about those things. So $90 is not bad. In fact, if they'll do a little discount, I might be interested in him. Here's a really terrific dinette set. This is going to be early 50s or late 40s when these are just starting to really be a thing, and this one is super heavily detailed and designed. The condition's really good. It's in fun color, bright yellow, and the best thing is the chairs. The chairs are in great shape. They're two-tone. They have the original vinyl. This isn't corroded. This was really taken care of, or maybe not used very much. It is a fantastic set. I imagine that this set is probably $400 to $500 now. It's amazing how expensive these dinette sets have become. They cost about $40 when they were new, and they were just considered cheap, fun, indestructible furniture at the time. And then we've got this very neat, large jet model for the Hawaii Express, another airline that came and went. And that is really fun as well. It's just very happy. Look at those colors. It just makes you want to go to Hawaii right now. So while I'm thinking of it, please comment in the space below here, and also hit the thumbs up button to like this video. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button below. Also hit the bell below to be notified of new videos coming every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And thank you so much for following along. Let's go back to this video. Oh, poor Bullwinkle. When you get canceled, it's just a terrible thing. It is a beautiful moose mount, though. I hope someone will prize it, because the poor thing gave its life to be mounted on this mount, and so it should at least be revered for its beauty. Here is an old-style Masonic apron with the metal fringe. This is going to date to about 1900. We've got a neat old copper with brass face fire extinguisher here, and then this is cool because it's for Hupmobile, copyright 1915. Hupmobiles were made until just before the Second World War. Their last model was a really neat Art Deco design, but they just couldn't stay in business quite long enough. If they'd just gotten to World War II, they'd have gotten a bunch of government contracts, and they probably would have survived in some form, but they could not outlive the Depression. And then look at this pretty mill from the 1870s. It's the Clark Company, lots of color and design. You spent a lot on this sort of thing, so they wanted it to be fancy. Threshing machines like these were very popular in the 1870s because farmers could separate the wheat and grain from the chaff very easily on their own, which meant a lot of people didn't have to be farmers anymore. Okay, so now we've got some good old slot machines here. This one's a dime machine. This is Bell. Mills Novelty Company did the Bell fruit gum machines. That one's neat with the heraldic crest. This one is the Jennings Indian. I've had this one once before as well, and they called it that because it's got the bronze of the Native American on the front. This one's a 25-cent called the Governor. It was changed to 25 cents at some point. It was originally not a quarter machine, but they would take these and actually switch out the material so that they would work for other things, because these were expensive to make. So while this originally would have come out in the 40s, this one is probably a late 1950s version of the same. And then this one's quite old. This is from 1925, before gambling was even legalized in Nevada. This one is fun. I believe this is also a Jennings. I'll have to look to make sure. you notice that it says all quality mints. You were actually gambling for mints. It was a trade stimulator. It wasn't actually supposed to pay out, although later I'm sure it was used for that purpose, and I suspect it might have been even before it was legal to do so. But that's a neat early piece. And the 25-cent play, that was a lot of money back then, so not so many of these would have been made. Now here's a mill and a churn made for home service. The mill here has already been sold, so I can't tell you what the price was, but it's a neat looking old piece. And then this is a churn with the bent wood. You see the big hand crank on the side there. This should date sometime around 1905, 1910. When you open it up, you're going to see some really good paddles. People like these if they're primitive collectors, if they're doing farmhouse decor, and people do sometimes, rarely, still use them. They are still functional. Usually they use them as end tables or side tables or lamp tables. And then this is a big old dough tray. You would knead the dough inside the box, that lid comes off, and then you would roll it out on the top. And that way you kept the flies and things out of it, and you could keep it moist. You see these a lot in the Midwest. I have one for sale out in Washington State. You see the big dovetails there. This one's priced at $225, and I have to say I have mine priced double that. Of course, I haven't sold mine, so they may know more than I do, but I think it's also because they're more available here. Prices do vary depending on what region you're in and how often they come into the things. Also, we're at a show. These are large items, and there's some motivation to sell because this is heavy stuff to move around. These have become so popular lately, and even though they're in chippy paint condition, they're solid, they're not rusted through, and that's why these are good sellers. $35 each. They're making reproductions of these. They are very thin and they cost $75 to $100 each, so that makes these old ones worth restoring. There's a very tiny little Christmas tree in the ceramic with glitter. It's cute. It's missing some of the little balls, but you could probably find something to replace that. That's kind of sweet. In the 1930s, if you needed to get your tire pressure exactly right and you went into a garage, you might have seen a machine like this. This is an Eco tire meter made in Michigan. It's got a great square dial and the streamlined design. Very cool looking piece. Haven't seen one of these in the wild before. Can't really see what the price is on it, though. A lot of things are not priced when you're out early at a show like this, so I apologize. I know people like prices, but I can't tell you if they don't have it on, and a lot of the dealers have walked off. Now this one is really unusual. This is a stop sign with cutouts that may have been illuminated or reflectorized behind it, but what's really unusual about it is, look who made it. California State AAA Auto Association. In the 19-teens, the AAAs formed all over the country, and the reason was that automobile driving was a pretty dangerous sport. There were not uniform signage laws. There was a lot of discrepancy between things, and so you didn't know from one place to the next how the roads were going to be, how they were going to be marked and signed, and the AAAs formed in order to promote road improvements. So this stop sign is an example of the type of road improvements they would have been trying to get through. And this should be worth several $100s. You do not see the old AAA marked enamel signs much anymore. It's had some restoration, but it's unusual. What's nice about this particular coffee mill is it has everything, including its original paint. It's priced at $1,600 because of it. I saw one that I showed you in another video priced at $595, but it was seriously restored. This one is all original. And you can see why that makes a difference, because you get this detail in here that generally a restorer is not going to think to put on or be able to put on. It's hard to recreate this eagle transfer, for example, or the little medals from the World's Fair. This has an 1899 patent date on it. These would have been used in stores. next to it. Later days, we have Scotch cellophane tape. And then I like this, Queen Sherbet from fresh fruits and berries. Strengthens the stomach, relieves fatigue. W.P. Sheldon, Malden, Massachusetts. I don't know why people needed that many excuses to eat sherbet, but that certainly gives you every one you could possibly want. Now here's some good old salt glaze crockery. This one's Star Pottery with the really great heraldic eagle stamp on it. And then these have advertising. This one's Greensboro, Pennsylvania. Okay, well, I have figured out where I'm supposed to be, I think, for the time being. I have moved to another location near my friends, and they are guiding me. So if you remember the Snoopy toy chest, it is the doghouse with Snoopy and Woodstock from the 1970s. That's something I haven't seen since I was a child. I don't think there's too many of them left. And I bought some things from this gal. Her name is Jewel, appropriately enough. And she's got some great jewels. This is a neat set. It looks like Renoir or Matisse or maybe Rabahe, but it's actually marked Ramee, R-A-M-E. I have not seen that label before, but it's definitely 1950s. And she has that priced at $50, which for the set is not bad. Yes, she does have a plethora of gems and a bunch of Bakelite bangles here. I got a neat Weiss pin and a Czech pin and some Italian micro mosaic, and she's got some really nice beading here. I wanted to show one in particular if I can figure out where it went. Oh, no, maybe it's sold. You had one that had, oh no, it's right here. Yeah, this one's nice because it's Italian wedding cake beads. Yeah, it is really a pretty piece. It would look good on you, actually.
Well, I like this.
Yeah, that's pretty snazzy too, actually. Tell me about that one.
I just bought it today.
Here's a truck full of fun stuff. The old dentist sign especially gets me. And then the Toledo Jam with Foreigner at the Toledo Speedway. You know, some of these old concert shirts are selling for huge money now. So if you've got a bunch from back in the day when you were a metal guy, hang on to them or sell them, but don't just donate them. They are worth money. Here's a somewhat interesting quilt in that it's more of an applique really, but it's old suit and shirt material like you see in crazy quilts usually, but it's in a star pattern. You don't really see patterns in crazy quilts because they just sort of sewed whatever pieces together. So it's a patterned quilt but not made out of the usual material, and that makes it kind of different. Here's a neat looking old speaker from the 1930s. This is Bell and Howell. I did not know that they made speakers. We did a big estate sale in Portland, Oregon, where a school had all sorts of old stuff that they had gotten rid of, and a guy who worked there had kept it over the years, and we had, boy, dozens and dozens of these things. Here's the original projector it went with. A neat package for people who are wanting to look at old film, especially 16 millimeter. These are pretty collectible still, probably worth a few hundred. Whether it's from Western Auto Supply or an old laundry, these bins are starting to be pretty collectible. People are putting glass tops on the larger ones and making tables out of them. People are using them for storage. They just have a cool industrial look. A lot of these are coming out of factories in the Midwest. And my friend in Seattle, I think, sells these for about $150. So I'm back at the hotel and I'm going to do a quick haul video because a lot of this stuff could sell right away and I won't get a chance. I got the Corvette Manual because who doesn't want a Corvette? And then these are cute little shoe store placards for Summerettes and Commodores, which were little slip-on comfortable shoes and sandals from the 1950s. And I just thought those were really sweet. This guy I went ahead and bought. He's the Hubley dog and he's the boxer. You don't see the boxer as much as the terriers. He's cast iron from about 1920 and he's got such cute face, and the guy was getting out of the smalls business, so he had him for half price at $45. I think he'll sell for $90. My friend who does the antique advertising had never seen this. It was adhesive on the back and you would stick this to your hat. I don't know why you would wear a calendar on your hat, and neither did he, but we both thought it was cool. This is a very famous 1897 print trio, Cupid Awake, Cupid Asleep, and Cupid at Rest in the middle. That should be worth about 20. I got it for 10. This is a Daguerreotype. Whoa, sorry about that. This is the earliest form of photography where it used a mercury vapor and iodized silver on a glass plate, so they broke really easily, they faded out really easily, and because of that they're popular to collect because it's hard to find in good shape. And then these two bags, the Mandalian from the 1920s and 30s, the flappers love to shimmy and they love things that shimmied with them, and I do expect to get 95 for the one on the left at least, and the one on the right with the tassels probably 125. And you'll see a bunch of costume jewelry as well that I got from Jewel, who you saw there. It was easier to isolate, but first let me show you the Alexandrite cat. This is the glass that shows purple under incandescent and blue under fluorescent. Kavanaugh hats. This is a cute little box with the little ceramic hat in it. That was a store giveaway from the 50s. I figure that's worth about 20 bucks. And jewelry. The cameo on the left is a flapper from the 1920s, so that's really cool. The dangle pin is neat. A lot of these are signed. That red one on the right is check. I just like the width and colors of that big rhinestone band. And then these are Bakelite. And the necklace is a Renoir. And then this with the interesting watermelon colored stones is marked Weiss, or Weiss. I always said Weiss, but people seem to pronounce it both ways. Anyway, I expect 15 to 30 a piece on the jewelry you see here.
Well, I've enjoyed bringing this all to you, and I've done my little haul video in the bathroom here at the hotel because my flatmate is asleep already. We have a busy day tomorrow. It will be the big show all day, and then I'll be meeting a bunch of YouTubers tomorrow as well, and so we'll have a video all about that. So come see me in a couple of days and you'll get to see all the people that I got to see here at the Springfield Antique Show. In the meantime, this is George the Antique Nomad on Periscope, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye now. Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media daily posts and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.